On the campus of the University of Mississippi in Oxford has been called the Mecca of tailgating, and the atmosphere is even more lively when Alabama is in town. The Ole Miss Rebels make their walk of champions, and when they arrive at Vaught Hemingway Stadium, their quarterback Jordan Ta'amu will see a dear friend in Alabama quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. They grew up close to each other in Hawaii. Tua has been sensational, leading Nick Saban's Crimson Tide to a 2-0 start and their familiar spot atop the college football rankings. And welcome everyone to ESPN College Football Primetime, presented by Hampton by Hilton. It's a hot and steamy night here in Oxford, 90 degrees as we approach kickoff. It's the Southeastern Conference opener for a couple of 2-0 teams, the Alabama Crimson Tide, the defending national champs, and the Ole Miss Rebels in a rivalry that dates back to 1894. Good evening, everybody, and welcome Sean McDonough along with Todd Blackledge. We are delighted to have you with us. We'll be joined in just a moment by Holly Rowe. A lot of similarities, Todd, between these two teams. Each has an outstanding quarterback from Hawaii. Much more about them as we go. And those quarterbacks are blessed to have an outstanding receiving group on each team. In the case of Ole Miss, they think they have the best wide receivers in the country.
If you want to be the best, then prove it against the best. They got the #1 team in the country coming in here in Alabama. Now, the Ole Miss receivers have a catchy nickname, and they are pretty. Their leader is A.J. Brown, the slot receiver, strength and speed. DK Metcalf on the outside is the biggest guy, the matchup problem. And the guy with the speed who can take the top off the defense, DeMarcus Lodge, who did not play the last 2 weeks. They did not play well against Alabama last year. This is a new opportunity.
And it's a new-looking Alabama team, at least through 2 games. They've dominated, winning 108-21 in the first 2. Throwing it around a lot more because they have a talented young wide receiver group, too.
You have a quarterback who's got great vision, and he distributes the ball, and you've got 3 sophomores who are really stepping up their game, get better each week. Throw in an electrifying freshman in Jalen Waddle, and this is an outstanding receiving group in its own right.
The Ole Miss Rebels and Coach Matt Luke in his 2nd season as head coach at his alma mater. They're 2-0, a neutral site win over Texas Tech in Houston, and then a victory over Southern Illinois last Saturday here in Oxford. The opening kickoff right after this.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Pizza Hut, official pizza of college football. Order now at pizzahut.com. No one out-pizzas the Hut. And Floor & Decor. Top quality floors, rock bottom prices. With a store nearest you, visit flooranddecor.com.
You're watching the SEC on ESPN. Ole Miss won the coin toss and will receive the opening kickoff from Joseph Bulovas. Back deep, Elijah Moore. And we are underway. Very little breeze in the stadium. And a good kick about 3 yards deep. Down on the field, here's Holly Rowe.
Well, think about what an unusual evening. Opposing quarterbacks are young men of Samoan ancestry who grew up on the island of Oahu. I talked to Tua before the game, and he said it's so weird. I've known my whole life. We've worked out together. We've prayed together, and now we're playing against each other in SEC schools thousands of miles away from home. He did text with Jordan this week, sent him a scripture that said,
We'll get back to Holly in a moment. Obviously, problems with her microphone. So Ta'amu, the senior from right near Pearl Harbor, looking to throw on the first play. Wants to go deep. There's a receiver open. Right out of the gate. NWO. A TD. DK Metcalf.
This team loves to take deep shots. Jordan Ta'amu has a tremendous touch on the deep ball. Maximum protection and a beautiful throw to start the game. They beat Savion Smith. This is a brand new starting secondary for Alabama, and they knew they were going to get challenged tonight. First play out of the gate, Ole Miss strikes for a touchdown.
Matt Luke said we absolutely need to get off to a good start and build some belief. They were hammered by the Tide in Tuscaloosa. They're looking to see if he stepped out of bounds. He might have right there at the 2-yard line. Well, that doesn't look conclusive from that angle to me. What do you think?
Yeah, that's pretty close. I mean, again, it's got to be indisputable evidence to overturn the call on the field.
That looks like he's out of bounds.
Right heel, white shoe on the white. I think they're going to have to line up and play goal line offense here at the 2.
They got annihilated last year, 66-3. After beating Alabama in 2014 and 15. And watching Alabama come from 21 points down in 2016. The start critical for Ole Miss.
Absolutely.
Tonight.
Last year in Tuscaloosa, I did the game. Opening kickoff, Alabama got a huge hit and set the tone, and then they just steamrolled Ole Miss. And this wide receiving core, with so much notoriety and so much success, only 6 combined catches between the 3 superstars a year ago. A big one on the first play of the game for DK Metcalf.
And what a specimen he is. 6'4", 230 pounds. Great bloodlines. His dad, Terrence, was an All-American offensive lineman here at Ole Miss. Played in the NFL. DK grew up here in Oxford, a hometown hero.
What Ole Miss has to be thinking right now, they're going to assume they're going to take this away. So they have to be thinking offensively, hey, what is our first play here on the 2-yard line, if that's what we have to line up? Because with that play and the energy that it put into the crowd, they need to find a way to get the ball in the end zone if this play is going to be overturned.
Hubert Owens, the referee, talking with John Bible, the replay official. This crowd of nearly 65,000 awaits.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. Touchdown.
Not conclusive.
Right, that's why it stands and not confirmed. What a start for Matt Luke's team.
I thought the shot from the end zone back toward Metcalf, running toward the camera, looked like he stepped out of bounds at the 2. So Tom with the touchdown pass. And Luke Logan adds the extra point. 11 seconds in. Ole Miss goes to the strength of its team. And Bill Lamagnier, our official in the booth, what do you think here?
The head cam shot, you can't prove that the heel came down and the toe was in bounds. But our shot that came from the pylon looked like the back of that heel did touch the ground, was just barely on the white. But they felt obviously it wasn't conclusive, so the play stands as called.
And Coach Luke, who talked about the importance of a great start, got exactly what he wanted. Interim coach a year ago, took over when Hugh Freeze resigned. Near the start of the season, they went 6-6, won 3 of the last 4. They removed the interim label at the end of the year, and a surprise to some, the team was delighted. And this is his dream job. Played for Ole Miss in the 90s, was a 4-year starting center, coached here under David Cutcliffe and Hugh Freeze. Looking for his biggest win as a head coach. Josh Jacobs brings the kickoff back. This is the second kickoff return by Alabama all season. The other one, a touchdown by Jacobs.
Take a look at the touchdown again. I just want to show you something. They kept the tight end and the back end. 7-man protection, knowing they wanted to take a shot on the first play of the game. Give your quarterback the most protection you can give him. Nice clean pocket. And we talked about the touch that Jordan Tahamu has throwing the ball deep down the field. Could not have scripted a better start for the Rebels.
Another similarity, veteran offensive lines on each side. Tungo Vailoa protected on the left end by Jonah Williams, perhaps the best left tackle in the country. Out of the gun with 5 receivers. The lefty on target. Irv Smith, the tight end, across the 40 and dives to the 45-yard line. Nice play to start the game for Alabama, 18 yards.
How often would you imagine seeing Alabama start the game in an empty formation with 4 wideouts. This time they have a back in the backfield, but it's the skill set of their quarterback that has kind of changed the way they do business right now on offense.
This is not a mistake. Alabama is averaging 309 yards per game passing. Swing past Damian Harris and another first down. 2 plays, 2 first downs for the Crimson Tide as we look at tonight's Chick-fil-A impact players. Damian Harris rushed for 1,000 yards a year ago, passed up the NFL. And in the words of the Mississippi coaches, Jerry Jeudy is the best, most talented player on the offense for Alabama. Lots of running room outside. It's been a porous Ole Miss defense. And Alabama scores on 3 plays as Harris takes it to the end zone from 43 yards out.
Well, just poor defensive fundamentals. You got an end that's going to have a shot, another end that's chasing, and a safety that runs away from the play. You got to be able to make plays when you're unblocked. Here comes a defensive linebacker, misses it, the middle linebacker, bad angle by the safety, and Damian Harrison. That was Momo Sanogo, who just had a bad angle to the football. He was unblocked, but a bad angle to Damian Harris, and just like that, chance for a tie.
And it is tied off the foot of Joseph Bulovas. Ole Miss has been a disaster on defense, particularly last week when Southern Illinois scored 41 and had 629 yards of offense, which made you wonder what Alabama might do here tonight. Entertaining start, just getting started in Oxford. Friends, you can stream college football all season long on ESPN+. So start your free trial today by downloading the ESPN app or visiting ESPNplus.com. Damian Harris in the end zone for the first time this season. And we're tied at 7. Just a minute and 21 seconds in. Joseph Bulovas kicks off for the second time. Redshirt freshman from Mandeville, Louisiana. This one returnable for the freshman Elijah Moore, but he calls for the fair catch and brings the ball to the 25. Here's Adnan Virk. Well, it gets Coach O off the hot seat for a week. They couldn't kick a field goal last year. They were 16 for 27 kicking field goals. They get Cole Tracy, grad transfer from Assumption College, D2 in Worcester, Mass. And he has been a difference maker at the start of the year. From the 25. Ole Miss's second play. They threw a 75-yard touchdown pass on the first. Trying to do it again. And it's incomplete, looking for DeMarcus Lodge. And broken up by Trayvon Diggs.
Well, that's what they do. I mean, they go max protection again. Keep the tight end in the back end. Try the other side. Diggs, who has long arms, just able to get in here and get a hand on the football. His receiver had a step. The ball was perfectly thrown. But Trayvon Diggs made an outstanding play on the football.
They have 5 members of the secondary from last year's national championship team that went on to the NFL. 3 on active squads, 2 on practice squads. So that was a lot of secondary talent to replace. Ta'amu ahead for 4. They'll mark him down on the slide of the 29-yard line. Pressured by Quinnen Williams, the noseman, who's had a great start to the year for Bama. Ole Miss wants to go quickly.
Last year they were 0 for 13 on 3rd down against Alabama. Important part of the game for the Rebels offense.
And they have to feel like they have to score a lot tonight with the way their defense has played all year. The pass deflected and falls incomplete. A couple of pumps by Ta'amu as he tried to find somebody.
To hold on to the ball longer than he wanted to. Good tight coverage. It was 2 deep safeties and man underneath. Nobody able to break free for Ta'amu, and Alabama forces a punt.
Mack Wilson knocked the pass down. Here's Mack Brown to punt. After an outstanding career as the head coach at the University of Texas. This is a different Mack Brown. But like our pal Mack, this Mack is pretty good at what he does too. Sends it out of bounds, so the dangerous freshman Jalen Waddle couldn't return. 3 touchdowns in the first quarter last week for Tua against Arkansas State. Can he do it again tonight?
ESPN College Football is presented by Hampton by Hilton. For the best price guaranteed, book at Hampton.com. And in part by Infinity. Empower the drive.
Well, the exception of last year's blowout in Tuscaloosa, the big win for Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide. This has been a very exciting series in recent years. Ole Miss had the wins over highly ranked Bama teams in 14 and 15. Both of those Ole Miss teams were ranked. This team tonight is not 75 straight wins against unranked foes. The all-time record in FBS football. Damian Harris collared, but another good gain of about 7 on first down.
A couple alarming numbers for this Ole Miss defense as they come in tonight. Last week against Southern Illinois, they gave up 629 yards. Now, they played better in the second half, but that's way too many yards. Against this Alabama team a year ago in Tuscaloosa, 345 yards on the ground they gave up.
So Wesley McGriff, the defensive coordinator, he thinks they're going to be better. He actually liked the way they played in the win against Texas Tech, and they held the usually high-flying Red Raiders to 27 points. But it's been a struggle last year and this year. They're one of the worst teams in the country on defense. Really remarkable. They went 6-6 given how bad they were on D.
You've got to try to make a team like this earn everything. Don't give them easy plays down the field.
Josh Jacobs in at running back. Tungo Vailoa checked it down. Henry Ruggs, and the ball is out at the end of the play on a big hit. The Rebels have it inbounds.
Well, there was no call initially. This is excellent defense. This is excellent defense. They made Tunga Vailoa throw the ball underneath, and then they gang tackled. And I think before the Ruggs was down, the ball was ripped out.
It was coming out for sure. Wamid Sanogo in there. Jalen Julius. He seemed to be the key player in knocking it away from Henry Ruggs, who was fired up to play Ole Miss tonight for a lot of reasons, including the fact his brother Cavante is on the defense for Ole Miss.
The previous play is under further review.
Sean, in the 2 games back-to-back that Ole Miss beat Alabama, they forced 7 turnovers. That was a big part of their success in those 2 wins. This could be a huge break for their much-maligned defense right now. Right about midfield.
Well, you mentioned last week they gave up 38 points in the first half to Southern Illinois, an FCS team, a good FCS team, it seemed, watching the tape, coached by Nick Hill. Gave up only 3 points in the second half, in large part because they started to take the ball away.
Yeah.
They got 3 takeaways
3 consecutive
in the second
possessions.
half and scored 2 defensive touchdowns.
That's right.
They're going to need a lot more of that as the season goes along.
When you have an offense the way they have, defensively.
After review, the ruling on the field is confirmed.
You just got to come up with an occasional stop or maybe force a turnover and give the football to your offense. Now, with great field position, we've seen 2 first-down plays where Ole Miss has gone play action with maximum protection and taken a shot deep against this inexperienced Alabama secondary. But with 2 safeties deep, this suggests running play here for Ole Miss.
C.J. Moore recovered the fumble for Ole Miss. Here's Scotty Phillips in his first year here at Ole Miss, and he's had an immediate impact out of junior college, Jones County Junior College. He rushed for 204 yards in that opening win against Texas Tech.
He's quick, he's strong, he's a good pass protector. He's really been a nice addition to this offense.
Just the 8th player ever to rush for 200 yards in a game for Ole Miss. Ta'amu has good feet, throws on the run. Out of bounds. Intended for DK Metcalf. Mac Wilson, little linebacker, bringing pressure on Jordan Ta'amu.
Both of these quarterbacks are mobile guys. They both have the ability to extend plays and buy themselves some time. That time Ta'amu just not able to get the connection.
Looked like Alabama was offside. Might be a freebie for Tom. Oh, Metcalf looked like he pushed off from here. No flag there. Incomplete pass. It did appear that the Crimson Tide was across the line of scrimmage.
Well, we mentioned an inexperienced secondary. That's Patrick Surtain.
Defense. Number 92, 5-yard penalty. Still third down.
Metcalf was working one-on-one on a guy that most considered the top cornerback recruit coming out of high school last year. Played at American Heritage High School down in Plantation, Florida. Outstanding young prospect.
Played for his dad, Patrick. 3-time Pro Bowl defensive back with the Miami Dolphins. Tom, whose pass deflected on 3rd down and 5, and it falls incomplete.
He had A.J. Brown. That was Isaiah Buggs that was able to get a hand on the football to stop that 3rd down play.
So Ole Miss will punt. This is the kind of position on the field if you had a fake in your arsenal, it would be the time to do it. Mac Brown to punt it away to Jalen Waddle, and he'll try to prevent him from making a play. He's averaged over 12 yards per punt return. True freshman out of Houston. Tumbling rugby style punt and a little too much on it. Back we go to Holly Rowe.
Well, guys, it's such a unique game when two brothers are playing against each other. Henry Ruggs, the third on Alabama as a wide receiver, might actually get tackled tonight by his little brother, Kevontae, number 27 for Ole Miss, who is just back from a concussion last week. He's playing tonight. He's ready to take the field right now. I talked to their mom, Nikita. She said she might need her anxiety medication on hold because she's so stressed out about the brothers. But she said, you know, it's cool. Henry really bullied Kevontae when they were little boys because Henry was 14 months older. But now that Kevontae's bigger, he is very eager to get even with his older brother, but littler brother tonight.
Wesley McGriff, the defensive coordinator for Ole Miss, told us he might have to calm Kevontae Ruggs down before the game starts. He's been fired up all week. Tied at 7. Tua Tagovailoa steps up, throws a little too high for the tight end Irv Smith, who can get down the field at 6'4", 241.
Alabama has two different tight ends. Hale Hentges is the guy that's kind of their on-the-line tight end, their run-blocking guy, does a lot for him. Irv Smith is their move tight end that they can get matchups in the passing game. He was open there. Just a slight overthrow by Tagovailoa.
Josh Jacobs, the running back. They faked it to Jacobs. Tagovailoa, a good runner. Across the 20, but that's all. Josiah Coatney, a part of the front four for the Rebels, made the tackle. And how about these numbers on 3rd down for Tua Tagovailoa this season? 10 for 10 passing, and he's run for 2 first downs.
That is pretty good. But he hasn't done it on the road yet, so this is his first opportunity in an SEC stadium.
They beat Louisville in the opener in Orlando, Florida. Had a home win against Arkansas State. Scored 50+ in both games. They've never started a year with 3 straight 50-point games. Tagovailoa still on target on 3rd down. And Jerry Jeudy is in the end zone. Touchdown, Alabama.
He beat Zedrick Woods, but I put this on C.J. Moore, the other safety, for not being over the top of the defense. Wesley McGriff said, we cannot give up the middle of the field, and we've got to know where 4 is all the time. The other safety got swept to the other side and didn't help on the slot, and an easy throw on 3rd and long for Tua.
McGriff said, we can't give up the middle of the field. We can't give up explosive big plays. We have to put most of our attention on number 4. Jeudy, we think he's their most talented offensive player. They didn't do any of it. And now Ole Miss trails for the first time tonight after the Bulovas extra point. Lots of big plays here in Oxford. That's a 79-yard touchdown for Alabama. Let's take a look at this week's AP rankings, brought to you by Allstate. Alabama #1. 11 years in a row they've been #1 at least at one point in the season. And some big surprises already today. Wisconsin and Auburn, #6 and 7 in the AP rankings. Losers at home to BYU and LSU, respectively. Ole Miss trying to pull off the biggest surprise in the top 10 if they could do it tonight. They're 3-touchdown underdogs at home against the defending national champs. Joseph Bulovas down to Elijah Moore.
Let's go back to the touchdown now. Jerry Jeudy is the focus of the Ole Miss defense. Okay, here he is in the slot. This is a zone defense. It's 3-deep zone. You're going to see guys running back. The guy who makes the mistake is the free safety right here. C.J. Moore, if you're the middle safety in 3-deep, you have to be deeper than the deepest receiver. Jerry Jeudy runs right by him in a zone defense. That's just a poor play by the free safety because he's responsible to be the deepest guy in that coverage, and it's an easy touchdown. And now for Tua Tagovailoa, 7 touchdown passes, average 37 yards apiece.
Scotty Phillips, nice run on first down for the Rebels, and he got 9, chopped down by Dylan Moses. 79 yards on the last touchdown pass to Jeudy.
Such an accurate passer. Great touch on the deep ball. Anticipation, reads the field, finds your weaknesses.
Play fake to Phillips. They want to throw it on 2nd and 1, and it's dropped by DeMarcus Lodge, who didn't play last week against Southern Illinois as he was in the concussion protocol.
And you just get the feeling, Sean, that Ole Miss can't afford plays like that. And that they've got to convert when they get nice opportunities.
Tamu hands it off on the run. Phillips into the secondary, across midfield, and down to the 43-yard line of Alabama.
It was 3rd and 1, and they went fast, and Alabama was not set on defense. Mac Wilson, the new signal caller, got blocked by the tight end Cooley, and a first down for Ole Miss.
There was a flag thrown in the middle of the field.
Alabama played a tempo team last week.
Holding. Offense, #1. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. Replay 3rd down.
Wow. Costly. Again, you just get the feeling that Ole Miss, you can't play a perfect game, but you can't shoot yourself in the foot. There's A.J. Brown blocking on Carter, #5. It wasn't a lot. And it negates a great run by Scotty Phillips.
After forcing the foul, the ball still made the line of the game. It'll be first down, Ole Miss.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Mentioned the outstanding wide receiver groups, and the coaches on each side require them to be spirited blockers, and both of these teams do a good job on the perimeter. They're going to call that tonight. There might be a lot of flags on both sides. Isaiah Willard, the backup running back, is in. On target, A.J. Brown. Most believe he's the best of the nasty wideouts from Ole Miss, and a very likely first-round draft choice. He's a junior out of Starkville, Mississippi.
Only 1 catch for 6 yards in the game at Tuscaloosa last year. They really focused on him.
Couple of fakes and a strike for a first down, and they're back across midfield again. It's A.J. Brown, outstanding two-sport athlete, drafted as an outfielder in the 19th round by the San Diego Padres, and has spent about a week in each of the last 3 off seasons with them. Mac Wilson, who is their signal caller, sitting on the field.
Yeah, crowd booing, thinking maybe Alabama's trying to slow the tempo down. I don't think Mac Wilson would want to be out of the ball game. He's a valuable piece to this inexperienced Alabama defense. Nick Saban puts a lot of responsibility on his signal calling linebacker, and this guy is just kind of starting to get used to that.
And that was a concern, particularly tonight, with the pace at which Ole Miss operates. Wilson said no matter how fast it's going, when we met with him last night, I can't get flustered, because if I do, then that's going to get handed off to my teammates and cause some problems.
Here he is right here. He's reading the quarterback. He's going to try to get a deflection. He's not rushing. He's going to try to get a deflection. Gets blocked by Cooley and comes down a little awkwardly on that left leg. But already now A.J. Brown off to a much better start than he had a year ago against this Crimson Tide defense.
Joshua McMillan.
Single coverage up at the top.
McMillan has taken the place of Wilson at linebacker. Ta'amu trying to take advantage of the single coverage, and he might have been hit as he threw, because that was a duck that came up well short of DeMarcus Lodge.
Yeah, Anthony Jennings was able to get in there and hit Ta'amu as he was trying to throw the football. And because Jennings got him, watch 33 come from the top of the screen, he was not able to get enough on this football because he had single coverage on the outside and was not able to follow through on the throw.
Mack Wilson back on the field for Alabama. Out of the gun on 2nd and 10. Ta'amu takes off running. He got blasted and fumbled, and Alabama has the football at the 38-yard line. Deontay Thompson knocked it out.
Now, one of the issues for Ole Miss, you don't get your quarterback hit in practice. You want to protect him. You tell him to slide. He goes for a tough run here, and he loses the football. A big hit by Deontay Thompson on a guy who's not used to getting hit in the open field, and he lets go of the football. He's a good runner, but he didn't secure the football there.
Xavier McKinney had the first contact on Ta'amu. So each team has turned it over once. Alabama has sandwiched a couple of very short touchdown drives of 3 plays each around their turnover. Tongo Vailoa across midfield, slides down with a first down after a 13-yard gain, with Montrell Custis closing in. I have lost track of belts and thrones and chains and all these other things. Although I think Alabama says they, and Holly knows a lot about this, they were actually the originator of the hardware, if you will, on the sideline.
She's taking meticulous notes on documenting all the sideline things.
Tom Rinaldi on game day today as well. That pass incomplete. Looked like Devontae Smith didn't see it coming or wasn't expecting it to be thrown in his direction.
Well, guys, we were giving the Miami turnover chain a lot of love for spawning some clones. The Boise State throne, the Memphis robe, all kinds of things sprang up in week 1 of college football. But the Alabama fans were quick to let me know they've had the turnover belt for a long time. They think they started the trend, and they might be right.
Apparently it comes with oxygen. Najee Harris down short of the first down of the Ole Miss 43. Momo Sanogo made the tackle. He's their leading tackler for the year.
A big third down situation here for the Ole Miss defense. Good opportunity for Alabama because at this distance you've got everything open. Run, quarterback run, and you better make sure you take care of number 4 in the slot, Jerry Jeudy.
And a quarterback who hasn't missed on 3rd down all year. Plenty of time. Tongo Vailoa. First down and much more. Not content to just get past the marker. He's inside the 30.
We talk about Jerry Jeudy being the most dangerous receiver. This time he was the best blocker on the field. Tonga Vailoa does not convert that 3rd down if he doesn't pick up the block downfield by Jerry Jeudy. He sustained the block for a long time and got his quarterback the first down.
Jacobs and Harris, the running backs. Najee Harris, they faked it to him. Josh Jacobs, another big play. Chopped down by C.J. Moore at the 10. First down.
Josh Jacobs is their change-up guy in the backfield, and they want to do some things. Mike Loxley told us we got to be creative to find things to do with him, and that was a 2-tailback formation. And they've got 3 or 4 guys that they play at that position, but Jacobs gives you the ability to do something with 2 backs on the field that's a little unique.
First and goal. They're just on the 10-yard line. Najee Harris turns the corner and virtually untouched into the end zone.
This is the same problem The middle linebacker, this is Jaquez Jones, number 10, who is in now. Watch him take a bad angle to the football, underestimating the speed of Najee Harris. He's unblocked, but a bad angle. He doesn't even get a hand on him. And another easy running touchdown for the Crimson Tide. This offense has been outstanding through the first 2 weeks, and they don't show any sign of slowing down in this ball game.
No SEC team has ever started a season with 3 straight 50-point games. Alabama might be there by the half. They're averaging 54 points per game, put up 51 in the win against Louisville in Orlando to open the season, 57 last week at home against Arkansas State.
Tremendous run-pass balance, a quarterback who makes great decisions. They're fun to watch.
Don't often see the starting quarterback as the holder, but he remains the holder. For Joseph Bulovas, who took over mid-game last week after Austin Jones, their transfer kicker from Temple, clanked an extra point off each upright, missed 2 at the start of the game. This season, for every field goal and extra point made by participating universities, All-State will make a contribution to the university's general scholarship fund. Thank you to All-State. Still a hot and sticky night here in Oxford, Mississippi. We approach 7 in the evening local time. It's 87 degrees with high humidity. And more of the same on both sides. More prolific offense from Alabama, more dreadful defense from Ole Miss. Joseph Bulovas kicks off again. And Elijah Moore, another touchback. Here's Holly.
Well, Coach Saban told us last night when we met with him that the first 2 games of the year for Alabama, he had a very strict plan when the quarterbacks were going to play. He said, I had told both guys exactly when they were coming in, and we didn't deviate from that plan no matter what. He said, but this game tonight, I don't know yet. I'm going to have to go with my gut. On the road, in a tough environment, to me, that's not the time to have a plan. He wants to stay with his gut, and if a guy is hot, have the ability to leave him in. So a slight deviation of what we've seen previously with the quarterbacks back and forth.
The plan was to bring him in, play 3 series last week, and he did. Played most of the second quarter against Arkansas State, and there's an interception. Thrown into traffic by Ta'amu, and here comes Deontay Thompson. Stumbling down just shy of the 15-yard line.
Yeah, Jordan got fooled by the coverage. Alabama disguised their coverage. They showed 2 safeties, which means the middle of the field should be open. But at the snap, one is going to go up and one is going to go back. And that middle safety just read the quarterback. And as Jordan tried to throw deep down the middle, he was reading it and made a play on the football. He thought the middle would be open, but he was fooled by the coverage. And Deontay Thompson made him pay for it.
His 2nd interception of the season, 3rd of his career. He's been off to a great start this season. Thompson, saluted by the coaching staff as their defensive player of the game in each of the first 2 games of the season. One of their players of the game. They generally pick 2 or 3 on each side of the ball in special teams. Damian Harris, they faked it to him, and Tungo Vailoa slides down with a 2-yard gain at 12. Tua's parents are here. Holly mentioned in the start of the telecast the close friendship between Tua's family and Jordan Ta'amu's family, and it was Tua's dad who really coached both of them in a park near the Tungo Vailoa home on the island of Oahu.
Along with Tua's younger brother, who is now committed to coming to Alabama as well.
Pass incomplete, looking for Henry Ruggs. They're both deeply religious young men. Holly mentioned they frequently exchange scripture verses in a text chain that includes Mackenzie Milton, also from Hawaii, the outstanding quarterback at the University of Central Florida. Billy and Louisa not as happy with the way this one's going.
Well, you just can't make those kind of mistakes against a team this good.
on 3rd down and 7. What do you expect? You think he was going to throw an incomplete pass on 3rd down? Irv Smith with the 4th touchdown of the quarter, and we barely played 10 minutes here in Oxford. 4 TDs for the #1 team in the country.
This is good coverage by Javian Hamilton, number 21, but a perfect throw by Tua Tagovailoa. He's got a bigger body tight end working against a smaller cornerback, and he throws a perfect pass.
Well, that looked like holding, didn't it? The camera shot we had. Looked like they had Josiah Coatney in the middle of that defensive line around the neck. Joseph Bulovas, another extra point. He might be leg weary already between the PATs and the kickoffs.
Take a look at the protection. Here's the hold at the top of the screen. That was Lester Cotton, the left guard, who got away with a takedown. But it doesn't take anything away from this throw. And look at Irv Smith use his tight end body and just kind of like he's boxing out for a rebound, box out the defender, and go up and high point the football for another Alabama touchdown.
2nd of the season for Irv Smith. He's caught 22 passes in his career, and 5 of them have been touchdown receptions. So that is an excellent ratio, as is this ratio of touchdowns to drives for Alabama.
Yeah, and this is what is concerning for Ole Miss's defense. They're not making them earn anything. I mean, it's happening as fast as Alabama can line up and call plays. Perfect on 3rd down, just about perfect on every down.
.28 points in the first quarter, ties the most scored by the Crimson Tide in an opening quarter under Nick Saban. They did it in 2010 against Duke, 2015 against Charleston Southern, and they have 440 to put more points on the board here. Boy, Ole Miss got off to that great start. 75-yard touchdown pass on the first play of the game. It has been all Alabama since.
And I think, going back to Holly's report, I think we will see Jalen Hurts now, possibly even this next possession, because they have complete control of the football game.
But that's one of the things that Nick Saban said was a double-edged sword. You're ahead.
Right.
You feel comfortable perhaps making a change, but you don't want the momentum of the game to change when you have them on the ropes. He has a lot of respect for the scoring ability of this Ole Miss team. So you wonder if he'll keep the throttle down with Tagovailoa. He did say he has great compassion for Jalen Hurts. He said, when else in the history of college football has a guy gone 26-2 as the starting quarterback and lost his job? But he's handled it with grace. 2nd and 5. Scotty Phillips. Deontay Thompson swung him around and sent him backwards. They'll give him forward progress to about 2 yards short of the first down.
I just want to go back and make one more point on that, because that's the point. This is not like a freshman that you want to keep interested, you know, like at Clemson or at Georgia with a Justin Fields. This is a guy who's 26-2 as a starter and took your team to the national championship game 2 games in a row.
Here's Scotty Phillips, manages to get outside and has the first down, shoved down by Mack Wilson. They'll spot it at the 45-yard line.
Ole Miss has to just stick to their plan. They can't look at the scoreboard right now. They know they've got a prolific offense. They got to get in a little rhythm here. They haven't converted on a couple 3rd downs. They need to keep trying to blend the run and the pass and take their shots when they present themselves.
Isaiah Woolard gives Scotty Phillips a breather. He stayed in the block for Tom, who on target to DK Metcalf. First down. He got chopped down to the 37 by Trayvon Diggs and Deontay Thompson.
Really good decision. Instead of trying to force one down the field, he looked deep to A.J. Brown. It wasn't there. Take the underneath throw and let that big guy try to make a play for you.
And movement for a false start against the Rebels.
False start. Offense. Number 14. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Todd, you played on some great teams at Penn State, won a national championship. You really weren't in the position that Tom was in tonight. He knows how porous the defense has been, not just this year, but last. So I think you could expect that he might try to force it in there a couple of times tonight, feeling like they have to score every time they go out there.
Yeah, but you can't. You have to stay with your plan. You got to believe you got enough time to make some plays, because what you don't want to do is force one down the field and get it picked off because you got greedy like he did the last possession.
Isaiah Woolard, a short gain just across the line of scrimmage. He got knocked down by Quinnen Williams.
Plus, you want to try to let your defense rest a little bit if you can, and try to regroup the best they can.
Woolard remains the back. Ta'amu faked it to him, and it's incomplete. Trying to fire it to Dawson Knox, the tight end.
I think we're going to get another holding call. Alabama's forcing Ta'amu to hold the ball longer than he wants to. This is a quick trigger passing game.
Holding, offense, number 50, 10-yard penalty. Replay second down.
Well, that's the center right in the middle of the action, Sean Rawlings. Right here. Last week against Southern Illinois, 9 penalty. There's the tackle, the takedown by the center. And that's a hard ask to block Quinnen Williams, who's been the most productive and disruptive inside defensive tackle for Alabama.
Veteran offensive line, and Ta'amu is dumped. Christian Miller, the linebacker, bringing the pressure with his first full sack of the season. Had a half sack coming in.
Again, the coverage is forcing Ta'amu to hold the ball longer. He wasn't able to get rid of it when he tried to cock the throw, and he held it too long and got hit and sacked.
Third down, 28. There is a flag down. Jump ball and almost intercepted. Intended for DK Metcalf. Savion Smith had the coverage.
Offside, defense, number 99, 5-yard penalty, third down.
Raekwon Davis gives Ole Miss another chance with 1:39 to go in the first quarter.
Well, you wonder if this is even possibly 4-down territory, if you can get maybe half of the yardage here and get into Alabama territory. Down 3 scores right now.
Just a 3-man rush. Ta'amu to the 42-yard line goes A.J. Brown. They'll give him the 41, but he's well short of the first down. And you're right, it was a hesitation for a moment by Matt Luke. He thought about leaving the offense out there.
The last time they tried to do a little rugby-style punt to the right, and they actually had 2 gunners down there to catch the football, but the ball bounced over both guys' heads. See if they try to execute that a little better this time and pin Alabama deep.
Too much leg again. That's a waste. Keep kicking it into the end zone. Tomorrow, Sunday NFL Countdown at 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN. The story of James Conner's incredible journey. Battled cancer while at Pitt. And he had a terrific performance for the Steelers last week in Cleveland. Plus, Randy Moss ranks this week's best catches in college football. And you got Moss. So happy for James Conner. Holly spent a lot of time with him. We were in Pittsburgh last weekend. Very likable young man. Stepping in for Le'Veon Bell, and really they didn't miss a beat.
Yeah.
Didn't win the game, which was a surprise to many. A tie in Cleveland.
So many quotes. I live in Ohio, and it was like that tie, breaking their losing streak with a tie, was the most Cleveland thing ever.
Tungo Vailoa all day to throw it.
It's going to be a costly penalty. They defended the play well. They forced the underneath throw. They ran to the football, but they hit the quarterback late. And another costly penalty.
Personal foul, roughing the passer. Defense, number 4, 15-yard penalty added to the end of the run. First down.
I mean, this is well defended. Victor Evans is getting blocked. He's getting buried. He stays with the play. Credit him for hustling, but right there, the throwdown. When he hit him, it was okay, but when he threw him to the ground, that's what drew the flag.
The penalty is enforced from the previous
That's just
spot.
stupid.
Automatic first down.
Again, last week against Southern Illinois, 9 penalties for this Ole Miss team that hurt them. And now already in the first quarter, what is that, their 5th? 4th penalty.
And that one's a killer. They actually made a good defensive play, as you said. Drop Jalen Waddle. They haven't been able to cover, and they put very little pressure on Tungo Vailoa. Najee Harris on what could be the last play of the first quarter if Alabama wants it to be.
243 yards and 28 points in 1 quarter of football for this Alabama offense. It's just, they are dynamic.
Well, you and I talked during the week, and we wondered if Southern Illinois scored 41 and had 629 yards of offense, what might Alabama do? I mean, they're on a pace for almost 1,000 yards of offense.
Come on. Wow.
The #1 team in the country, looking very much like it. End of 1 in Oxford, 28-7, Alabama. Welcome back to ESPN College Football Primetime, presented by Hampton by Hilton. Sean McDonough, Todd Blackledge, and Holly Rowe back in Oxford, Mississippi, where Alabama scored 28 points in the first quarter, put up 243 yards of offense. Balanced again this week. Run in pass with Tua Tagovailoa at the helm. Take the toss. Weaves through the defense and gets taken down at the 48-yard line of Ole Miss by Josiah Coatney.
Very good runner. We saw that in the championship game. Not only did he make some great throws, throw 3 touchdown passes against Georgia, but he also ran for a couple critical first downs. He's a tough physical runner. Really has quick feet. Very athletic guy. We know that about Jalen Hurts as a runner, but this guy's a pretty good runner himself.
Sophomore Tagovailoa back up to Jalen Hurts a year ago. He's on target to Hale Henches, usually the blocking tight end. That's his first catch of the season, just his 12th career catch. Senior from Jefferson City, Missouri. Of course, the entire country got to know Tagovailoa when he stepped in for Jalen Hurts in the second half of the national title game in Atlanta against Georgia. They were down 13-0. He led them back to the 26-23 overtime win, and then won the battle to be the starter in the preseason camp. He's on target for a first down to Devontae Smith, who caught the game-winning touchdown pass against Georgia, a 41-yarder in overtime.
The thing you see with Tua, and we're seeing it tonight, but if you go watch Alabama practice and he's out there with the offense, the ball doesn't hit the ground. I mean, he just hits everything. He is so accurate. He's got so many intangibles and instinctive things that you can't coach or teach, no matter how good of a quarterback coach or offensive coordinator you are. He's got a lot of those things you can't coach.
Damian Harris down to the 31. I remember the quote that we used. We did the national championship game with Holly last year for ESPN Radio. Brian Dable, who was the offensive coordinator last year, describing Tagovailoa, said, some guys from the distance can hit the side of the house. Some guys can hit the front door. Some can hit the doorknob. He can hit the keyhole. Yeah. He's that accurate. He was 14 for 24 with 3 touchdowns in that national championship win. 17th in school history for Alabama. And the favorite to win another one this year. Damian Harris, another first down. Keydron Smith, the tackle.
It's interesting to me because another team that is really playing great right now and has a big game tonight down in Arlington is Ohio State. And the impact that Dwayne Haskins is having on that offense is very similar to what Tua is doing for this offense. Stretching the field, getting the receivers more involved, and giving them a different dimension throwing the ball downfield that they haven't had in the past.
This is just his 3rd career start. And that one dropped by Irv Smith.
He just kind of pulled the string on this. We don't see him do this very often. Didn't step into the throw, kind of threw it backing up and didn't get enough on it because he had Irv Smith open, which in what probably would have been another touchdown, running down the middle of the field.
It wasn't a great throw, almost shocking when he's off target. Came into tonight completing 71% of his passes for the season. He's 9 out of 13 tonight. This is the longest drive of the night in terms of number of plays. Josh Jacobs breaks a tackle. Did not get the first down. Made it to the 20. Or he was taken down by Keydron Smith.
Sonogo was in there, had a chance to bring him down for no gain. Pretty tough run that time by Jacobs to bring up a third down and short.
2 is 2 for 2 on third down tonight. 12 for 12 for the season. Mike Loxley, the new offensive coordinator, does such a nice job calling the plays, and so many options here, run or pass, with all the talent. Ole Miss showing blitz. Damian Harris stumbled as he tried to put his head down. Victor Evans prevented the first down, and what will Nick Saban do? He'll send the field goal team out.
Nice play by Victor Evans. We saw him get the costly penalty in the first quarter. That time he broke down against a very dangerous open field runner in Damian Harris and make the tackle. This is a defensive end working out in space against a running back. He does a nice job breaking down, keeping leverage, and getting Harris to the ground.
38-yard field goal try for the redshirt freshman Bolotis. The second attempt of his career. He made a 39-yarder last week, and that's a low duck hook.
It's about the only thing that has not gone well through the first 3 games for Alabama. They've not kicked the ball particularly well. They've tried 2 different guys and a missed opportunity there.
They're replacing Andy Papanastis, the kicker on their national championship team of a year ago.
The college football playoff lives on ESPN.
All right, Adnan. Great to be working with you tonight. Tim Tebow here in Oxford this weekend with our SEC Nation crew. Scotty Phillips, the ball carrier, and a flag thrown.
Yeah, I think they're going to get Jordan Sims playing right guard, number 70.
Personal foul, illegal hands to the face. Defense, number 49. 15 yards from the previous spot, automatic first down.
They got Isaiah Buggs for the penalty, but Ole Miss got away with one too, because Jordan Sims gets a tackle right here, and this is Buggs over here with the hands to the face. Or actually up on the top here is Isaiah Buggs. Working against Greg Little, the left tackle, one of the highest regarded left tackles in college football.
We might have the 2 best left tackles in college football in this game tonight. They both project as first-round picks. Greg Little and Jonah Williams. Deontay Thompson had the coverage on the tight end, Dawson Knox.
You know, Matt Luke was a former offensive line coach. He says of Greg Little that he's longer and a little bit heavier than Laramie Tunsil, who was the last great left tackle they had here.
And a first-round pick. Ta'amu throws a beautiful deep ball, a stride ahead of DeMarcus Lodge, who got behind the freshman Patrick Surtain.
Now Lodge, one of those receivers who's yet to catch a pass. That was the 4th time they've targeted him tonight, but is yet to connect. Missed last week, got hurt in the Texas Tech game, was out for concussion protocol. Take a look at Jordan Ta'amu. Alabama has been able to disrupt his rhythm. This pass offense is very quick trigger, all on rhythm.
And it's 3rd down and 10. 4 for his last 13. Saw his parents here. Unlike Tua Tagovailoa, he was not highly recruited, didn't have a Division I offer out of high school in Pearl City, Hawaii.
Timeout, Ole Miss.
University of Hawaii, whom he dreamed about playing as a kid, offered him a walk-on situation as a defensive back.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Coca-Cola. Taste the feeling. And Mitsubishi Motors. Drive your ambition.
Well, for a small state, Hawaii producing some terrific college quarterbacks. Only 1.5 million people live in Hawaii, approximately. But 3 great players right now, and they all, 3 of them, look up to Marcus Mariota.
Yeah. Here's where you need your best player to make a play right here. A.J. Brown, 3 catches. They need him to step up and make a play.
3rd down and 10. Ta'amu under pressure, escapes, has the first down and much more. Slides down at the 44-yard line of Alabama with a 23-yard gain.
Big play, big play. You need a conversion. The pocket collapses. You try to keep the play alive. You break a couple arm tackles, and you get your team a new set of downs, and you protect your body with the slide.
After the play fake to Scotty Phillips, going deep for single coverage and incomplete. Well covered by Trayvon Diggs. He had DK Metcalf, Trayvon, the younger brother of Stephon Diggs, former University of Maryland star, and now having a great career with the Minnesota Vikings.
That ball needs to be thrown outside, over the outside shoulder of the receiver. Because it was inside, it allowed Diggs to make a nice play on the ball. Diggs is 6'2" with long arms, and that throw inside gave him a chance to make a play.
On 2nd and 10, back to the run with Scotty Phillips. He got 3, really not in field goal range right now.
Where do you have a matchup on 3rd down? You've got to get protection first, but where do you have a matchup? Is it one of your receivers, or is it possibly your tight end, Dawson Knox, that draws the best matchup? Knox is going to be up here. It looks like he's going to be on Trayvon Diggs. That doesn't look like a good matchup to me, unless Diggs is blitzing off that slot.
You'd think 4 down territory here for Coach Matt Luke. Pressure for Ta'amu, running for his life. Throws, caught, DK Metcalf. Nope, out of bounds. Save the officials along the near sideline.
He had gone out of bounds and came back in to try to catch the football. He ran himself out of bounds and then tried to come back in to make the catch. Watch. He steps out right here and then comes back in to catch the football. Pressure off the slot. Ta'amu had to leave the pocket, and now on 4th down, they've got to go for it.
And they like to snap it usually within 11 or 12 seconds. Phil Longo, the coordinator, wanted to make sure they have the right play on this key 4th down. 4-man Alabama rush, but they still get pressure on, and a sack. Christian Miller, the strong rush with help from Dylan Moses. And Alabama takes over on downs.
When a quarterback is feeling too much pressure, his vision shrinks. He doesn't see the field. He had A.J. Brown open on this play, but because of the rush, his eyes went down, and so did he. Back in Oxford, I mentioned on that 4th down play, Jordan Ta'amu had A.J. Brown. He's going to run a little out route, but watch Ta'amu. He feels the rush. He doesn't read the coverage. Right now, he's open. Get him the football. It's 4th and 7. Let your best player make a play to get your first down. But again, as a quarterback, when you start to lose rhythm and that rush starts to get to you, your vision shrinks, and you start looking at bodies instead of receivers.
After taking over on downs on 1st down, it's Josh Jacobs, a nice cut. And he has 11 yards and an Alabama 1st down to the Ole Miss 41, tackled by Kadir Shepard, a transfer from Syracuse, the Harvard of Central New York. What a big win for the Orange today over Florida State.
Very impressive. Backup quarterback too, right? Backup quarterback doing leading the way.
They had lost 10 in a row to Florida State. The last win against the Seminoles was 1966 when Syracuse had a pretty good team. Floyd Little, Larry Zonka, and Tom Coughlin were on that team. Alabama's not bad either. Judy, did he stay in bounds? The officials are trying to decide. No, he did not. He's out at the 7-yard line. 1st and goal, Alabama.
It's a little bit of a stutter step. He's working on Montrell Custis. Little stutter step and then just runs by him. And again, Tua is so accurate. When he sees him wide open, you see him step out of bounds. But perfect throw, again, to the outside away from the defender. When a guy is a slot receiver, it's hard to jam or get contact on him, but you can't give that guy such a free release.
Jacobs forced to retreat off the handoff. Still turned it into a gain of about 3. Chopped down by Miles Hartsfield.
Alabama sitting at 334 yards of total offense here in the first half.
And they've really slacked off here in the second quarter, though. They had 243 in the first quarter. Let's pick it up. Haven't scored in this quarter, more than midway through, but poised to do so. Josh Jacobs finds a crease and finds the end zone. Touchdown, Alabama.
That's just power football. Pair of double teams on the inside. Watch the double teams. You got a double team here and a double team here and a tight end blocking out. It's just power. Push your way into the end zone.
And perhaps some taunting. There was a flag down after the touchdown.
After the play was over, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 8 on the offense. That penalty will be enforced on the kickoff. We'll have the try.
Imitating the fins up defensive signal by Ole Miss.
They're known as the land shark defense. I think the way Ole Miss has played defense last year and this year, they should probably stay away from any nicknames. But it's a tradition here. Bulovis the extra point. There is a flag. I don't know if I'd want to wear the land shark hat on a 90-degree and humid night. Might mess up my hair.
Offside defense, number 95. The penalty is refused. The extra point is good.
Land shark. Next Saturday on ABC, a top 20 matchup out of the Pac-12. Number 9 Stanford, number 20 Oregon in Eugene. Coach David Shaw expects to have one of the Heisman favorites, Bryce Love, back for this huge matchup in the Pac-12 North. It's on ABC at 8 Eastern time.
Yeah.
Slow start and some injuries for Bryce Love to start the year.
Slow start, but his team is playing well. And their defense has been better than they thought they might be. And Justin Herbert for Oregon, when he's healthy, they're really good. Mario Cristobal, the head coach, former assistant at Alabama, has really tried to take some of that Alabama culture up to Eugene in terms of toughness, in terms of their offseason strength and conditioning program, blending the speed that they've always had and the flash they've had with a little bit of power. And he's got a special quarterback when he's healthy.
With all the success for Alabama under Nick Saban, they have to continue to replace assistant coaches. They have 6 new members of the coaching staff this year who weren't here last year.
Yeah.
They promoted from within to the coordinator positions. Mike Loxley on offense, Tosh DeBoy on defense. Both were position coaches a year ago. Bulovis. Oh boy. Crowd groans. When you're down 35-7.
Of the receiving team successfully completed a fair catch.
With that fair catch, you've gained 5 yards. Isaiah Woolard. Is that the Heisman Trophy front runner right now? It's so early in the season, it almost seems silly, but nobody playing any better than he is.
Well, I'll tell you, a big opportunity, obviously, for Ohio State tonight and their quarterback. I saw Kyler Murray today. I watched him.
Wow.
He was special. He's fantastic. And his numbers through 3 games almost identical to Baker Mayfield's last year through his first 3 games.
Yeah, he's replacing the Heisman Trophy winner, and there really hasn't been any drop-off at quarterback for Oklahoma. DeMarcus Lodge stopped by Patrick Surtain, a gain of 8. They move it back to the 32, so call it 7. Second down and 3, under 7 minutes to go now in the first half. On a hot night, the temperature's still in the high 80s here in Oxford. Scotty Phillips stopped a yard short of the first down by Dylan Moses. He might be the next star in a long line of great linebackers at Alabama.
Well, this team, Nick Saban, their ability to recruit, their ability to develop talent. A lot of these young guys we mentioned, all new secondary starters. Those guys all played on special teams last year. And then you've got guys stepping up at linebacker, and you've got guys that are stepping up in that defensive front that are ready to take on bigger roles.
Third down and 1, and Phillips dropped for a loss. Big loss. Back inside the 31. Penetration by Quinnen Williams, who's had a tremendous start to his redshirt sophomore season.
Watch just inside. Now this is kind of a bare defense. They're covering up both guards in the center, and Quinnen Williams, who has been a disruptive force all season. He doesn't look as imposing as some of the other defensive tackles they've had over the last few years, but highly, highly productive on the inside. Great technique player.
Took over for Jerron Payne, who was the 13th player taken in the draft this year. The first round, one of 4 first-round picks off the Alabama campus. He was drafted by the Redskins. Here's Jalen Waddle. Whoa, that might have saved the touchdown for Ole Miss, as he got tackled by Momo Sanogo after a 35-yard return of a 37-yard punt from Matt Brown.
Now Waddle showed what he could do as a punt returner in that opener against Louisville. A very exciting young receiver, returner. Outstanding short space quickness. Can really make people miss. And you add him to that trio of sophomore wide receivers and the tight end Irv Smith. It's just another weapon at the disposal of the quarterback.
He got timed at 4.37 in the 40, and a couple of his teammates said, oh no, he's faster than that. Jalen Hurts is in the game now for the first time. Tosses it to Najee Harris. Nice cut. He got 8 on first down.
And this brings up a point as we see Jalen Hurts. You know, the new rule this year for the red shirt, they changed it so that players could actually play in 4 games and still be able to protect a red shirt. This is the 3rd game, and this is the 3rd time Jalen Hurts has played. So nobody knows exactly what the plan is for him or what Nick Saban's thinking, what Jalen Hurts is thinking. I kind of think Nick Saban's plan is, look, I love both guys. I may need both guys to win every game this year, and so I'm approaching it that way. I'm not thinking about red shirts. It'd be interesting to see where Jalen comes on that opinion.
He's a junior, chased out of bounds by Kevontae Ruggs. Short of the first down, loss of a couple on the play.
I mean, it's just such a new rule and a new situation. It's kind of a win-win for both coaches and players. But in the case of a guy like Jalen Hurts, he's going to graduate in December. If he did redshirt, he could go somewhere else and play for 2 years. But he may just want to stay at Alabama because he loves it here.
And Tua may be gone.
That's right. You never know.
The way he's playing, they ruled the last play an incomplete pass. So this is 3rd down and 2. For the starter each of the previous 2 years, who went, as we said, 26-2 as the starting quarterback, and is among the all-time leaders in several categories at Alabama. He's throwing to the end zone for a touchdown to Jerry Jeudy with Montrell Custis in coverage. 22-yard touchdown.
Well, again, he's the go-to guy. This is a perfect throw by Jalen Hurts. But you can't let this guy get off the ball without any collision. You've got to stop his momentum. He's too good, and the quarterbacks are too accurate to give him that kind of a release to get to the end zone.
Wesley McGriff, the defense coordinator, said that to us yesterday. You can't let them free release from the line of scrimmage. You need to jam them at the line and disrupt them, slow them down.
That pass right there showed me what I've seen on tape the first 2 games. Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback this year in the passing game than he was the last 2 years. I credit Mike Loxley, I credit new quarterback coach Dan Enos, and I credit the competition with Tua Tagovailoa.
Well, one of the reasons why this quarterback situation is working at Alabama, the relationship that Tagovailoa and Hurts have. Friends, it's Extra Yard for Teachers Week, and it's a week-long celebration of teachers led by the College Football Playoff Foundation through its Extra Yard for Teachers platform. Visit the College Football Playoff Foundation, www.cfp-foundation.org, to learn more about Extra Yard for Teachers Week. See how you can get involved. Great initiative, and salute all the teachers who have helped these young men get to where they are. After some hesitation, Elijah Moore decided to try to run one back, and why not? Down 42-7. Here comes a flag. Excellent return. He's an explosive return man. Been very conservative in bringing the ball back. There's a flag down.
During the return, holding the receiving team, number 14. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. First down.
DK Metcalf guilty of the hold. With more on Extra Yard for Teachers Week, here's Holly.
Well, Dawson Knox, the tight end for Ole Miss, is one of the most progressive academic young men on this team. He's got a great managerial finance major with a minor in entrepreneurship. He said the teacher that's been the most impactful for him was his high school teacher at Brentwood Academy, Jason Matthews, who is here in the stands. Ironically, his son also plays on this Ole Miss team, Bryce Matthews.
Scotty Phillips on first down. Holly, you have more?
Jason Matthews teaches at Brentwood Academy, and he actually got Dawson Knox interested in finance. He said he taught me all about economic supply and demand. That led him to his major here at Ole Miss. So the impact of a high school teacher, lingering effects.
And Knox came here largely for the academics. He was a walk-on, not on scholarship when he arrived. Phillips taken down by Anthony Jennings. He's a good player. They have not found a way to get the ball to the tight ends, but when you have all those terrific receivers, he's not going to be one of the top options.
Has a lot of high football IQ as a quarterback in high school before switching to tight end.
Ta'amu goes down. Under pressure again. And he's down at the 10-yard line. Christian Miller's been a force in the face of Ta'amu tonight, fifth-year senior out of Columbia, South Carolina.
Alabama is able to do what they want to do on defense. That's play with two safeties, rush with four, and get enough pressure to harass the quarterback. They're playing man coverage underneath. There's no opening for the receivers. Ta'amu has to hold the ball longer than he wants, and they're getting to him and rattling him.
Mac Brown, the punter, sophomore from Eden Prairie, Minnesota. Jalen Waddle from midfield, retreating.
Yeah, he waved his hand. He's trying to act like he didn't, but he kind of waved that hand just quick enough to signal the fair catch.
Well, if you're not cheating, you're only cheating yourself. Here's Adnan Verk.
Ruling is that the receiving team completed a fair catch. The ball was dead when he called it. First down.
Sure do. And Adnan, you just don't walk into the Carrier Dome and put up points on the Orange defense. Actually, it is staggering how bad the Florida State offense has been at the start of this year against Virginia Tech, Samford, and now Syracuse.
The Willie Taggart era not off to a great start.
Yeah, a couple of the new coaches off to rough starts. Nebraska loser today against Troy. They're 0-2 for the first time since 1957 under Scott Frost. I am a big believer he will get that completely turned around as he did at Central Florida when he inherited a winless team, and 2 years later they went undefeated.
You know what? Troy is a good football team now. Neil Brown has done a great job there. That's the same team that went into Baton Rouge and beat LSU last year in a very convincing type win.
Yeah, they get well paid to do it. They got over $1 million to go to Lincoln today. They got almost $1 million to win in Baton Rouge against the Tigers last year. Devontae Smith taken across the boundary by Kedron Smith. And Nebraska, some tough luck right out of the gate. They did not play their opener. It got canceled because of weather, and I think that really threw them off. They were supposed to play Akron. Jalen Hurts carries for a first down. So they had some first game sloppiness in what should have been their second game against Colorado. Didn't play well today either.
And lost their quarterback in the Colorado game.
That's a trend.
Yeah.
You know, guys who get beat out, they only had 2 scholarship quarterbacks, and when they settled on their starter, the backup left.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to I'm going to stay and earn the job?
Yeah.
Plus, you're always one injury away, which happened. They've had to play a walk-on now the last 2 weeks at Nebraska.
Well, and that's kind of what we're seeing here with Alabama. We have 2 very talented quarterbacks, different skill sets. One left-hander, one right-hander. One a little bit more known as a runner, one a little bit more known as a passer, but both effective and both great leaders on this football team.
Irv Smith another catch for a first down. He's caught 3 tonight. Jalen Hurts 4 out of 5 passing off the bench for 44 yards and a touchdown. Approaching a minute and a half to go in the half. Hurts a terrific runner. Knew exactly where he needed to get for the first down.
Last year, Jalen Hurts started in the game against Ole Miss. After an early miss, he had Calvin Ridley open on a corner route. He missed him, and after that settled down and played really well. Was 12 of 19 for 197 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he also ran for over 100 yards and a touchdown in that game. A real complete football game a year ago against this Rebel defense.
Individually and as a team, they had 613 yards against Ole Miss last year in Tuscaloosa. That's Damian Harris, the ball carrier. They're over 400 yards of offense now in the first half tonight.
We've talked about the quarterback. We've talked about the receivers, the backs, the offensive line doing a nice job as well. This is Jonah Williams is the left tackle, the only guy playing the same position as a year ago.
In a preseason first-team All-American, a screen, and Henry Ruggs makes it 48-7 Alabama with under a minute to go in the half on a 13-yard touchdown.
We mentioned linemen playing in different positions. Ross Perschbacher was a starting guard for the last couple years. He's the center now. Watch number 71 on the screen get downfield, get a block on Ruggs' brother, and Ruggs, the senior, takes it into the end zone. Block, hold, grab.
It looked like Kevontae wanted a shot at his brother, got grabbed by the jersey for a moment. He still did get there, but his brother was already in the end zone. Bulovas, another extra point. And this is Ruggs on the Ole Miss side because they get more tickets. As the home team, they needed a lot of tickets with 2 of her sons going head-to-head tonight. A much happier night for Henry Ruggs, the sophomore from Montgomery, Alabama. Well, we mentioned no team in the history of the SEC has ever started the season with 3 straight 50-point games. Alabama is 1 point away from doing it. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say they're going to do it.
Boy, that is a stretch now.
ESPN News is projecting that Alabama will become the first team ever to do it. Think of all the great football teams in this conference over all the years, but Nick Saban's team is going to establish another first.
Well, the last time they started with 2 games at Alabama was 1925. The first 2 games they beat Union College and Birmingham Southern by scoring over 50.
Our director Scott Johnson was working those games. We wish Scott a happy birthday. Celebrated earlier this week. Elijah Moore.
I can see maybe now why they have done fair catches on the kickoffs, because both times they've returned it, they've had penalties. So it's hard enough against the Alabama defense without pinning yourself back even further because of penalties on kickoff return team.
During the return, illegal block in the back, receiving team, number 85. Half the distance to the goal. First down.
Alex Weber called for the penalty. Don't miss Sunday night baseball. Big one for the Dodgers and the Cardinals. Playing the final game of a 4-game series at Busch Stadium. Both teams right in the thick of the very tight playoff race in the National League. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Baseball tonight. Sunday night countdown. Managerial change made a big difference for the St. Louis Cardinals this year. At least it seems to have. Isaiah Willard, the ball carrier. Alabama does have all 3 timeouts left. And I think Nick Saban is doing the right thing here by not using them. Isn't it good to see Jalen Hurts smiling too? I mean, he easily could have just gone in the tank.
Tremendous character guy. We saw that in the championship game last year. He was genuinely excited and happy for Tua. And his handling of his situation has given him as much respect with his teammates as anything he's ever done on the field.
Nick Saban got a lot of credit for putting the freshman quarterback Tungo Vailoa into the game, and some other freshmen as well who helped lead the comeback. But I think they knew what they had in Tungo Vailoa. They certainly did, particularly as a thrower. They're better in the passing game with him at the helm. But as you said, it's clear that Jalen Hurts is an improved thrower this season. Woolard did not get a first down, and that'll be the final play of the first half. It started so well for Ole Miss. They scored a touchdown on the first play from scrimmage, but it's been 49 straight points for Alabama since. 418 yards of offense, 248 of those through the air. Tungo Vailoa threw 2 touchdown passes. Hurts threw 2. Here's Holly.
Coach Saban, the very first play of the game, Ole Miss went long and your kids got beat, but you gathered them together on the sideline, and how did you get that secondary back together?
Well, we always say when we come to a place like this, you got to play the next play. So you got to, let it go, focus on the next play. They got a lot of good players. They can make explosive plays, and we didn't do a very good job on the play. So we changed some things up, and the kids played better.
What did you change?
Well, we put a different guy over there, match up at 14.
Thank you. Offense, over 400 yards offense. How excited are you about the balance and the players you've got right now?
Well, I'm really pleased with the way we're executing on offense. And, a few things we could have done better. We actually missed some checks on some pressures. But, we're going to learn from this experience. And we got to keep playing, though. I want our guys to play and, finish the game right.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
That was fascinating on a lot of levels. Halftime here at Oxford, the #1 team in the country, leading by 42. Looking to throw on the first play, wants to go deep. There's a receiver open. Right out of the gate, NWO. Lots of running room outside. It's been a porous Ole Miss defense. And Alabama scores on 3 plays. Tungo Vailoa still on target. And Jerry Jeudy is in the end zone. Najee Harris turns the corner and virtually untouched. Jalen Hurts is in the game now. He's throwing to the end zone for a touchdown to Jerry Jeudy. And we welcome you back to Oxford, Mississippi, and ESPN College Football Primetime, presented by Hampton by Hilton. This crowd was into it when Ole Miss scored on the first play of the game on a 75-yard touchdown pass. But Alabama has dominated since. And the Crimson Tide will receive the second half kickoff from Luke Logan. Josh Jacobs stays on his feet. Gets by the kicker. They have an angle on him, and they take him down from behind inside the 25-yard line. So as we welcome you back to Oxford, Sean McDonough and Todd Blackledge, more of the same from the first half. No letting up for this Crimson Tide team. About as impressive to start this season as any team I can remember.
We know they're always going to play great defense, right? Nick Saban's a defensive guy, but this offense and what they are doing offensively, 2 quarterbacks, both played great, but Tungo Vailoa just gives them a different dimension to their passing game. They've got young, talented receivers. Think about this now. Since Alabama won their first national championship under Nick Saban in 2009, they've only ranked in the top 30 in pass offense 1 time. Last year, they ranked 91st and still won the national championship. Coming into the game tonight, averaging 309 yards a game passing, and they're well on their way to passing that again tonight. It's just the pass offense, the diversity in their offense, and the weapons that they have at their disposal is as good as I've ever seen Alabama have offensively.
Jalen Hurts continues at quarterback. He came in the first half, played very well, as did the starter Tungo Vailoa. Najee Harris, the running back, dropped for a 2-yard loss. He stays in there. Hurts pass incomplete, looking for Henry Ruggs. Here's Holly Rowe.
Well, guys, just before halftime, Tungo Vailoa was being worked on the sideline by the athletic trainers. It looked like he was having cramps in both calves as both legs were being worked on. He then left the field early before halftime. He has come out, and I can see him noticeably limping as we wait for the call. And Tua is on the sideline. I can see him without his helmet, and he's just very gingerly walking right now. So it looks like we'll see a heavy dose of Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I saw him leave the field. I thought he just had to go to the bathroom. I mean, I've been there before. Get a little early start to halftime, but apparently something else.
Najee Harris dragging tacklers with him inside the 10-yard line. First and goal, Alabama. They had 4 touchdown drives in the first half that lasted less than a minute. This one likely to end in a touchdown. It'll be a little longer than a minute, and there is an injured Ole Miss player slow to get up.
Austrian Robinson, one of their backup defensive linemen, down right now. Young man from New York, grew up in Harlem. He's a long way from home as well.
The Trinity Pauling Prep School. You wouldn't expect to be cramps now, and as Holly said too, is limping just a little bit. They had the entire half to hydrate. And Todd had the entire half to eat. He took advantage of every minute. Friends, you can check out our alternative angle Xfinity Skycam coverage. I only had the entire commercial to read this card of tonight's game, streaming live on ESPN3 and on the ESPN app and on Xfinity X1. Xfinity Skycam coverage. Second down 1 for Alabama. First possession of the second half, leading 49-7. They've scored 49 unanswered points. Jalen Hurts 5 out of 6 passing off the bench, 57 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Woo. Josh Jacobs, and Benito Jones says enough of this. Drop for a loss, 5 yards.
Yeah, just a quick burst first step by Benito Jones. Gets right in there. A couple backup linemen. That was Deontay Brown playing left guard for Alabama, and he was stunned on that play by the quickness of Benito Jones.
Jones, a junior from Waynesboro, Mississippi. Highly touted prospect coming out of Wayne County High School. Third down and 6. Hurts off his back foot. Flags down. Incomplete pass intended for Henry Ruggs and broken up by Javian Hamilton.
Flags thrown in the area of defensive holding. Ole Miss showed their hand that time. They showed the inside blitz, so Jalen Hurts knew that he had man coverage and was going to the end zone. I think the hold might have been on Judy, though, in the slot.
Hubert Owens, the referee, leading this SEC officiating crew.
Holding on the defense on an eligible receiver doing a legal forward pass play. The penalty is half the distance from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
Judy's in the slot. I think this is where the grab was right there. You saw his jersey get pulled as the ball was in the air. Ball a little bit thrown behind Ruggs. Judy has certainly had a busy night. 3 catches, over 100 yards, a couple touchdowns.
Yeah. 3 catches, 136 yards. Josh Jacobs could not get away from Montrell Custis, who was just called for the hold on the previous play.
I think Nick Saban and Mike Locksley trying to pay it off for Josh Jacobs. You know, he had the long kickoff return to start this possession. He's kind of the third guy in the batting order at the running back position. Had a 77-yard kickoff return for a touchdown in the opener against Louisville. He's in there now trying to get the ball in the end zone here.
Saw Mike Locksley, offensive coordinator in the middle of the screen. Always been impressed by him. Remember when he was back at Illinois?
Yeah.
On the Rose Bowl staff with Ron Zook, considered then one of the up-and-coming assistants. Excellent play caller there for Juice Williams and that offense, and doing a terrific job in his first year as the coordinator here. Of course, an embarrassment of riches with which to work.
Yeah. Well, again, we mentioned 6 new coaches. That's Dan Enos next to Jalen Hurts, the new quarterback coach. Was with Brett Bielema at Arkansas the last 3 years. Wide receiver coach is Josh Gaddis, who came over from Penn State. He's new. The only kind of holdover is that the offensive line coach, Brent Key's been there for 3 years. Joe Panunzio was tight ends coach last year. He's coaching the running backs.
Well, not only does Nick do a great job in his staff of recruiting high school players, but he goes and recruits the best assistants away from other top programs around the country. There's highly regarded coaches in the building as analysts as well. And is that a catch? It looks like it is. Devontae Smith with the touchdown, and Alabama becomes the first team in the history of the SEC, which dates back to 1933, to score 50 points or more in each of the first 3 games of the season.
If you throw this ball in the right place to the back shoulder, it's just impossible to defend. They'll probably take a look to see if it hit the ground.
The previous play is under further review.
Bobbling it there. Yeah, I don't think that's going to stand as a completed touchdown. The ball can hit the ground. That's not illegal, but it didn't appear that he had control of the ball when it hit the ground. And that's why I think this one's going to get waved off.
Well, let's see if we have a good look at it from our progressive pylon cam. I don't think that's a catch. What say you, Mr. Lemonier? Bill?
Incomplete.
The ruling is that the pass was incomplete. Ball will be placed at the previous spot. It'll be 3rd down.
Todd hit it right on the head when he said if you control the ball first and then it touches the ground and you maintain that control, you can have a catch. But that ball clearly hit the ground while he was trying to get control. Good job by replay.
Good job by you and by Todd. You know, you guys are great in these one-sided games. We did Pitt Penn State last week. It's 51-6. Tonight it's 49-7. That's 100-13 in our 2 games the last 2 weeks. So we still have a half to go here. So it's 3rd down and goal. And they have not gotten above 50 points for the 3rd straight game yet. Hurts did not get to the end zone, about 2 yards short. And they'll try to kick a field goal to get over the 50 mark. If they kick this field goal, Todd, do I have to say the note again?
Yeah,
about
I think
the
you
first
do.
team
Yes.
to score over 50 in the SEC in the first 3 games of the season? Well, as you said, the one area that's a little shaky, and you know, Nick will address it.
Well, you know, they brought in a graduate transfer, first of all, Austin Jones, who was from Temple.
And a good one. 4th all-time leading scorer in the history of Temple football.
Really good. He comes down here, and in the first 2 games, he missed 3 extra points. And so they went to another guy, Bulabus, who's a redshirt freshman, and giving him a chance to be the kicker.
Montrell Custis is being tended to. And he's close to the edge of the field down there.
They're already a little light at that position. His backup, Vernon Dasher, is suspended tonight and will not play. They had to move a few guys around. There's Custis right there, just kind of grabbing that right knee. Boy, you hate to see that.
He missed all of spring practice with a shoulder injury.
Has been playing really well. I mean, one of the guys who has been a bit of a bright spot for their defense.
Up on his feet. Let's hope it's just a cramp. Looks like it might be. Among the many players they had to replace from the national championship team a year ago, one of the great punters in the history of college football, J.K. Scott, who's already had a nice start to his NFL career with Green Bay, and Andy Papanastis. So they thought it would be Austin Jones. He scuffled last week. Here's Bulabus. Ibid. 52 points. That's 3 straight games with more than 50. First team in the SEC to start a season that way. Congratulations.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Allstate and the Allstate AFCA Good Works team, recognizing athletes for their charitable work. Visit ESPN.com/Allstate to learn more.
Well, Ty, when you read about Oxford, Mississippi, the University of Mississippi, the Grove, so often you read about it's one of the best college towns in America. It's one of the most beautiful campuses. The Grove might be the best tailgating place, and all of them are true.
Yeah, and the square, that picture there, just such a beautiful place at night before a game. So much energy, activity down there.
A lot of the folks who are here have already made their way back toward the square, the Grove, for some refreshments perhaps. Bolivis with another touchback. Here's Adnan Verk. Wow, well, that was by far the biggest test of the 3 games for Ohio State without Urban Meyer. And they're in a battle there for sure. Ohio State averaged 64.5 points per game in their first 2 wins of the season against Oregon State and Rutgers. Much different opponent tonight. And you were talking earlier about, well, let's take a look at Ohio State tonight, see how they fare when we're trying to determine if Alabama's clearly the best team in the country. I'm ready to say they're clearly the best team in the country.
Well, I think they are right now, because the other team that everybody talks about is Clemson, and they've been a little bit sluggish out of the gate here early in the season. Now, you know, they played in a very hostile environment, College Station, a week ago, but they haven't looked, I don't think, the way people expected them to.
Scotty Phillips, the ball carrier, and Quinnen Williams made the tackle, and he heads off. First possession of the second half for Ole Miss. They scored on a 75-yard touchdown in the first play of the game. Led 7-0. They've watched Alabama score 52 in a row. Jordan Ta'amu became the starter late last year when Shea Patterson got injured. Since transferred to Michigan, the pass is batted down to the line of scrimmage by Anthony Jennings. And that really ignited the team last year. Jordan Ta'amu came in, went 3-2. They won 3 of the last 4 to finish 6-6 in a year with a lot of stuff going on. Hugh Freeze resigned not long before the year. They made Matt Luke the interim coach. They had sanctions, a bowl ban, which is also the case this year as well. They won't play in a bowl game unless they win their appeal. They're still waiting to hear. That win in the Egg Bowl, an upset over Mississippi State, seemed to be the final reason that Ross Bjork, the athletic director, needed to give Matt Luke the head coaching job going forward and remove the interim tag, which he had all of last year.
Substitution infraction, defense. 12 players in the formation, 5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
We
From
mentioned
the 30-yard line.
Yeah, mentioned the new offense and defensive coordinators. Alabama with a new special teams coordinator as well. Coming over, Jeff Banks. His first year was at Texas A&M the last 5 years.
Mack Brown to punt again. Punted 5 times in the first half. Jalen Waddle back deep. Brown went back 37 yards in the first half. That's a fair catch of a 36-yard punt. Big night, as expected, for Jerry Jeudy.
Well, Ole Miss said, we got to know where he is. Well, they knew where he is, but they didn't do a very good job on him. You've got to collide with him. Even if you're running out to zone, you can't let him just run free into your defense and attack the middle of your defense. He was targeted 3 times tonight. He had 3 catches for 136 yards and 2 touchdowns. But a big reason that he was so open and he was such a good guy to go to is they just didn't put any pressure on him physically at the line of scrimmage. And Jared Jeudy is clearly the go-to guy.
He's had 2 touchdown receptions in each of their 3 games this year. Najee Harris got knocked down by Chirikas Tisdale after a short gain, and Mike Loxley said he's their best route runner.
Yeah.
Great at the top of the routes to get open. Not blazing speed, but he certainly looks like he's fast with as often as he's open by a lot.
You know, he had 14 catches last year as a freshman, and that was good enough for being in second place. I mean, Calvin Ridley was clearly the lead receiver, the main guy they went to. This year's pass offense completely different in terms of how the ball is distributed, and I think we're going to see these three sophomores have similar numbers all the way through the season.
Devontae Smith, the catch. You know, last year, Ridley had 63 catches. Bo Scarborough was second with 17, but he's a running back.
Right.
And then Judy with 14. Ridley was targeted 97 times. 71 more than any other player. And some of that was his talents, and Jalen Hurts had so much confidence and ability to be open. Some of it was by scheme.
Right.
You know, coordinator Brian Dable came out of the NFL and had the approach that he was going to, in each play, put his best receiver in the number one option in the formation. And because they have great balance of wide receiver now, Mike Loxley isn't going to move people around to be the featured receiver on every play.
And Lane Kiffin did the same thing, and McElwain did it before that. They've had feature guys. They've had star receivers that have been the number one guy in all the progressions. And this year's just a little bit different. Now, one of these guys might emerge to be the go-to guy, but for right now, they are all equally part of this pass offense.
Screen on 2nd and 11. There's Henry Ruggs, very close to the first down, to the Ole Miss 35-yard line. Josiah Coatney made the tackle. Well, when you have some of these stars, you want to throw it to him as often as you can.
No doubt.
Julio Jones, one of the best receivers in the NFL for sure. How about 124 catches for Amari Cooper in a single season?
Yeah, but you look at that next receiver, that's the big difference this year. Again, you're not going to see that kind of disparity with the group they have. And part of that's the receivers, and part of it's a quarterback who can read through progressions extremely well.
Calvin Ridley, the first-round pick, one of the 4 that Alabama had in this year's draft. They had 12 players drafted in total, and they just reload and back as the number 1 team in the country. Najee Harris, the carrier on the last play.
I got to really tip my hat to one of our colleagues, Kirk Herbstreit, because he made a couple statements before he was getting ready to do the Alabama-Louisville game, and before they had decided who the starting quarterback was going to be. And he said he'll be surprised if it's not Tua, and if he does become the starter, they're going to score 50 points every game because of how good their offense is going to be. And so far, that has been right on point.
Jalen Hurts runs out of bounds near the 30-yard line.
When you look at what both of these guys have done, and again, I think Jalen Hurts is a much better quarterback, a much more comfortable looking quarterback in the passing game than he was a year ago, but Tua Tagovailoa is special. I mean, his ability to see, his vision, his ability to distribute the football, we may not see him the rest of the night. You know, he had a good night, but he's special. And when he's on the field, this pass offense is special.
3rd down and 5 with the big lead. Play clock all the way down, too far down. Midway through the 3rd quarter. Flag down for delay of game against Alabama.
Well, your quarterback should see that, but I'm kind of surprised nobody on the sideline didn't call a timeout to help him as well. Usually, if a coach sees that that's happening and the quarterback's not aware of it, it's very easy to call a timeout on the sideline and avoid that 5-yard penalty.
We mentioned the commitment from Alabama. Butch Jones, head coach at Cincinnati, he's in their building now as an analyst. Lou Spanos was defense coordinator at UCLA, been around a long time. He's in their building as an analyst. You know, these guys would be the top assistant on many staffs. C.J. Moore, the interception for Ole Miss. And that's the first interception thrown by Hurts this year.
Well, we saw C.J. Moore not be in a position to help on a pass to Judy in the first half. This time, he is in a position to come and help on Judy, and he makes the interception, and a nice play for the Ole Miss defense.
Henry Ruggs heading to the locker room for Alabama. And those talented sophomore wide receivers. After the interception, they took a look at the replay and deemed that C.J. Moore was down. His knee hit the ground at the 4, so they moved the ball back a little bit. Isaiah Woolard carried on first down. First pick of the year for C.J. Moore, 4th of his career. He's a senior from Bassfield, Mississippi. Is that their version of the turnover chain? That really is a chain.
It is. I think it's got a big lock on the front too. Holly's probably got.
Yeah, Holly knows everything about all of these turnover things. Maybe that they just don't want him to get off the bench, and he's chained to the bench. Who knows? I doubt it. He's a talented player. Yep, he's had enough of the chain. You think it loses some of its luster when it's 52-7?
Probably a little bit. Yep. Still was a nice play, especially considering, you know, a play earlier in the game where he wasn't there to help on that inside receiver. It's just good to see a guy learn from a mistake and be in a better position to make a play later in the ball game.
Jordan Ta'amu hands it off to Isaiah Woolard. Let's go down to Holly Rowe with 5.5 to go in the third.
Guys, when Matt Luke went into the locker room with Ole Miss at the half, they were down 49-7. The message he delivered was, look, there are no 42-yard or 42-point plays. We're going to have to do this one play at a time. And he said, no matter what, we're in it together. All I'm asking for you guys to do is go out there and get better. We have seen a little life after that turnover.
Yep, they're trying to take something away from this, and right on cue, an interception and a touchdown for Xavier McKinney.
Well, Xavier McKinney is right here. And again, it looks like two safeties that are going to split, but he's going to work to the middle and just kind of bait Ta'amu into the throw. He's reading the eyes of the quarterback the whole time, and he picks it off. That's a case where the quarterback's eyes were outside, did not see the inside defender, and threw it right to him.
First career interception for Xavier McKinney. Gonna be a little hot doing that all night long.
Better that than push-ups, though.
Yeah. 59-7. This season, Taco Bell is celebrating student sections, passionate fans like these, clearly on tape, by awarding the best student section of the year. The Ole Miss Rebel student section is already on the national watch list. Go to ESPN.com/Taco Bell to see how your school can compete. Great fans here. A lot of them have left. The attendance tonight was 62,919, the 8th largest crowd in Vaught Hemingway Stadium history. On this hot night, a lot of them have headed off to enjoy the rest of a Saturday evening in this lovely town. Bulovas, another touchback. This one over the head of Elijah Moore. Wow. You know, people back in the Grove right now, I bet.
There are. I just want to go back to a point that Holly made in her conversation with Matt Luke, because, you know, you got to find something to build on. I mean, this is a team that, again, is not going to play in a bowl game. They only get 12 shots at it. They get 12 games. They did not play particularly well at all in the first half last week in one of their home games. They have not played well tonight, but they still have a whole quarter of play to do something, to try to have something positive to build on going forward, because they get 9 more of these afterwards.
Matt Luke from Gulfport, Mississippi, about a 5-hour drive here. Been an Ole Miss person his whole life. His dad played football here. His brother played football here. As a matter of fact, his brother was the starting quarterback here. Tom is now on the staff. He said it was pretty cool when you're in the 7th or 8th grade. You drive up to a campus like this, and your brother is the big man on campus. His wife Ashley is from Oxford. This is the job he always wanted, and he inherited a mess. And I thought, all things considered, 6-6 last year, considering the turmoil that surrounded this program, was pretty solid, including the 3 out of 4 to end the year with a win in their arch rival game in the Egg Bowl. Third and 9. Ta'amu taken down by Jamie Mosley, the younger brother of former Alabama great C.J. Mosley, now standout for the Baltimore Ravens. And here's a look back at a couple days after the season ended.
I want you to welcome the new head coach of the Ole Miss Rebels. Come on in.
Very emotional for Matt Luke. The players did not know. All they knew was Ross Bjork, the AD, was going to introduce the coach. And they were delighted. They played very hard from last year. Many of them said they were playing in large part to make sure that Coach Luke got the job going forward. Mac Brown's punt goes out of bounds at the 28-yard line.
Hey, Sean, the players were not all that excited with how that announcement went down. In fact, A.J. Brown told us because they had him in a room and the door was going to open, they didn't know who it was be. They were mad. They thought it wasn't going to be Mac Luke and that they were going to have to go through a new coach, and they were already furious. And so as soon as they said his name and he came through that door, one of the very first players up hugging his neck was A.J. Brown. They were so excited that he got the job. And the people I talk to around here, the one thing they keep saying, he's one of us. They feel like one of theirs has this head coaching job.
And he might get a little longer honeymoon because of his history in this state and in this program. New quarterback in, third of the night. It's Mac Jones, redshirt freshman out of Jacksonville, Florida, in the Bowl School, outstanding academic school, in addition to a proud sports history. Victor Evans welcomed him to the game with a spirited rush, and the pass went over the head of Derek Keefe. So they're going deep down the depth chart now for Alabama, with still 3.5 to go in the third quarter. Jones appeared briefly in each of the first 2 games against Louisville and Arkansas State. You know you're hammering people when you play 3 quarterbacks in each game. Brian Robinson, his first carry of the night and 13th of the season. He's 4th on the depth chart, but coaches really like him too. They'd like to get him more involved. He'd be much more significant on the depth chart elsewhere.
Local guy, played at Hillcrest High School in Tuscaloosa.
Miller Forrestall, number 87, deep down the depth chart at tight end, also in the game. Robinson bumped out of bounds by Zedrick Woods. But if you're Ole Miss, Matt Luke trying to take advantage of this half against the best team in the country and looking forward, the defense has to be alarming. I mean, yeah, you're playing a great team, but you weren't playing a great team last week and you really scuffled. You had all winter to fix it. They thought they'd be a lot better on defense under the coordinator Wesley McGriffin. They're not, and he's one of the real likable guys in coaching. But I think if the defense continues to play like this, he's going to take more and more heat here locally. Do they have good enough players on defense? I mean, they've recruited well. They keep having top 25 recruiting classes, but it looks like most of that talent's on the offensive side of the ball.
And I think that's where, the 2 most prominent positions that they can recruit to because of what they've done historically and putting guys in the league is wide receiver and left tackle. And defensively, I don't know that they've recruited the same level as they have offensively.
How about that throw by Matt Jones and a nice catch by Jalen Waddle. 25 yards on the completion, and the first completion of his career for Mac Jones, who had thrown 2 passes prior to tonight.
Took a big shot too. Tisdale got a big hit on the quarterback, and he stood in there and delivered a perfect throw to Waddle on the corner route.
I think Tariqus Tisdale's a guy who could help improve this defense as the season goes along. Brian Robinson inside the 25-yard line. You cheer for a guy like Wesley McGriff. We really enjoyed our visit with him yesterday. He talked about how he did not want to be a coach. He thought he was going to be a military man. His dad and 3 brothers served in the United States military. He played at Savannah State and decided after a couple of years in the military he needed to be closer to home with his mother. So Bill Davis, the late Bill Davis, was his coach at Savannah State, offered him a job in coaching, and a career started by accident. He told us he made $17,000 in 1990. And not only did he have to coach a position group, but he was the coach of the baseball team at Savannah State and a dorm director. He said, I was a pretty good baseball coach. We won a couple conference championships. Final minute of the third quarter. Alabama's outscored Ole Miss here in the third, 10-0. Robinson close to the first down. And they don't have to snap it again here in the third quarter. Henry Ruggs back on the sideline after he went to the dressing room briefly.
Well, we thought this would be a better challenge for Alabama compared to their first two opponents. On the road, an SEC opponent. Despite the problems that Ole Miss had on defense, we thought their offense was going to be able to kind of match scoring for at least a while. But a pretty dominant performance for Alabama, and as you think about them going forward, getting better defensively and a schedule that really plays out in their favor, it is not that difficult looking down the stretch for the Alabama Crimson Tide.
And the three quarters college football primetime on ESPN from Oxford, Mississippi. College football primetime is brought to you by Hampton by Hilton. With more than 2,400 locations, you can follow your team anywhere, including right here in Oxford, Mississippi. Hampton. On to the fourth quarter we go. Alabama leading 59-7 and in possession of the ball as their drive continues. Mac Jones, the redshirt freshman at quarterback, and Brian Robinson, the ball carrier, tackled by Wahmed Sanogo, nicknamed Momo. Said he went to high school in Plano, Texas. A young man from his area who, like Muhammad's family, hailed from Africa. His nickname was So-So. So his brother said, well, he's So-So. He's going to UCLA. Why don't we call you Momo? He's going to Ole Miss. When it's 59-7, we get the nickname stories in. Jones. And it'll be second down now. And 11. Jalen Hurts came off the bench with 7 out of 10 for 85 yards passing, 2 touchdowns and interception after Tua Tagovailoa. Went 11 out of 15 for 191, 2 touchdowns, no interception.
Really only one bad decision in that whole process with both those guys. It was the interception that Jalen threw. Got a little bit greedy. Went for the deep throw into the slot. He had a wide open crossing receiver and just kind of tried to bite off a bigger play that wasn't there.
Robinson stood up and gang tackled. Jaquez Jones leading the way. He's a true freshman out of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, in Hillcrest High School, which you mentioned moments ago, getting a chance to play here at garbage time. Not garbage time for these guys out there trying to make an impression. And I would think you're a young guy like Jaquez Jones, you can make an impression. There might be a few starting spots up for grabs on this Ole Miss defense after 3 weeks of this.
And tackling a former teammate is Brian Robinson from Hillcrest High School as well. So that's 2 guys going at each other from the same high school.
Third down and 12. Mac Jones runs out of time and gets taken down. Another backup in on the play. Markel Winters, listed as a third-team defensive lineman, senior out of Tallahassee, Florida.
Nice positive plays again for this Ole Miss defense. You're looking for anything you can put a little highlight together for your film, for your study. You're going to look at the bad plays and the mistakes, but you want to have a couple silver lining plays too to say, okay, let's build off of this and go forward next week.
Perhaps a chance to build a little confidence for Joseph Bulovas from 44, and that one almost dead center. 62 on the board now for Alabama, and a 62-7 lead in the fourth. Tomorrow on Sunday, NFL Countdown, 10 a.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. The story of James Conner, his remarkable journey from a cancer battle while at the University of Pittsburgh to his outstanding performance last week with the Steelers, among the stories they'll be covering. Then Monday Night Football, Russell Wilson and the Seahawks in Chicago to take on Khalil Mack and the Chicago Bears. That's at 8:15 Eastern. Also simulcast from Spanish on ESPN2. Coverage begins with Monday Night Countdown at 6.
Great start for the Cincinnati Bengals. Andy Dalton, former TCU Horned Frog. Of course, TCU in a great game tonight with Ohio State right now down in Texas.
Another touchback, another report from Holly Rowe.
Well, we wanted to keep a close eye on the Ruggs brother interaction tonight. Henry, number 11 for Alabama. Kevontae, number 27 for Ole Miss. They haven't been in too many things, but look at this right here. Henry with the touchdown. Kevontae throws him to the ground, but a little bit too late. And then a nice wrap-up tackle here. He gets in, barks in his face a little bit. A little talking, but big smile as he walks away. I can't even imagine how weird it is to have to tackle your brother out there.
It's probably not the first time that they've tackled each other. I can guarantee that.
Or talk some stuff at each other.
Yeah.
Jordan Tom, a little option look, and here's Tylan Knight thrown across the boundary by Markale Benton.
You know, we've talked about the defense finding some positive things to build on. I think Jordan Ta'amu's got to find some positive things. You know, he came into this game, everything he was doing was perfect. Right around 70% completion, no interceptions. He's been rattled tonight. His whole rhythm has been disrupted. He has not had a good ball game, but he's still out there, and this is an opportunity, whether it's against starters or backups, to get something positive to go forward on, because you're going to have to score and be really good offensively to win football games this season for Ole Miss.
And they can't stop anybody.
Yeah.
And a rough night for Tom, who after the 75-yard touchdown pass on the first play, and you said it, we talked about the wide receiver cores of each team. And the thought here at Ole Miss among people in their program that they have the best wide receiver group in the country. And where have they been?
Yeah.
Metcalf only had one other catch after the first play of the game. A.J. Brown has 3 catches. And Lodge has 1.
Well, here's what happens when you play Alabama. Nick Saban and his defense, it doesn't matter who the coordinator is, he wants to play with 2 safeties deep and be able to pressure the quarterback with 4. If he can do that, then he can guard all your receivers and he can add help with safeties on the most dangerous guys. But if you can run the football against that, then he has to move another guy in, a safety down into the box, and play with 1 safety, and then that creates more one-on-one situations in your pass game. He never had to do that tonight after the first play, and they were able to just control this Ole Miss offense and a hot quarterback by just playing base defense.
Mac Brown to punt. Trayvon Diggs back deep this time. And he makes a fair catch at the 24-yard line. 10:20 remaining. Alabama leading Ole Miss 62-7.
ESPN College Football is presented by Hampton by Hilton. For the best price guarantee, book at Hampton.com. And in part by the Lexus RX, featuring pre-collision system with pedestrian detection, standard.
Well, it is the craze that is captivating the nation. It's our progressive pylon cam. A lot of interesting shots from the pylon cam tonight, brought to you by Progressive. Jerry Jeudy averaging 45 yards and change per reception. Took a little while to get warmed up. He scored the first touchdown each of their first 2 games against Louisville and Arkansas State. Whistles and flags to stop the play, but didn't stop Kadir Shepard.
Offense number 76. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Scott Lashley backup tackle in there.
Please reset the game clock. 10 minutes, 20 seconds. 10:20.
Lashley not only got the penalty, but he also got his quarterback hit, because that was the guy lined up over him that came charging in on the movement.
Thank you.
Mac Jones, the quarterback. And Brian Robinson continues at running back. He gets stopped for a loss. Jones, another highly recruited player, 4-star prospect on a scale of 5 by almost all the major ranking services, including ESPN. Which had him ranked as the number 17 high school quarterback in the country. Took the Bulls school to a state championship game in 2016, redshirted last year at Alabama.
Reading through that media guide, they even had the number 1 ranked long snapper who went to IMG for his senior year. I mean, I didn't even know they ranked those guys. Maybe they ranked punters and kickers and long snappers.
Robinson carries again. Getting plenty of action here now in the second half with the outcome long since decided. All right, Todd, now that we've moved from ESPN to ESPN News, does this count as 2 appearances tonight in our contracts?
Offense number 10. So. 5-yard penalty, third down.
Looking for the silver lining in anything. We thank the McDonough family and Mrs. Blackledge for sticking with us here on ESPN News. We had to make room for Steve Levy and Brian Greasy and Todd McShay. They had a nice ball game tonight.
It's going to be a good one.
Alabama in reverse on this possession. And Todd, you've made the point as we chatted during the week about Alabama's schedule. You know, this looms as one of their toughest road tests of the season. Yeah. Obviously, it hasn't been very tough. Robinson gets them back across the 20.
Well, obviously, the SEC West is a great league. But when you look at who their crossover opponents are, they always play Tennessee out of the East, and Tennessee is not very strong right now in their first year under Jeremy Pruitt.
Apparently our graphic schedule stayed over on ESPN. They didn't make the trip over here to ESPN News with us. They're trying to shift it as we speak. Skylar DeLong to punt. Is that the first time I've said that tonight? I think it might be. And Elijah Moore, the fair catch. Not the first time we've said that. 34-yard punt.
Take a look at Alabama's schedule. Only 3 more road games, and of those 3, this is the only one I think is the most alarming. LSU playing really good right now. Baton Rouge, a tough place, although Alabama has had success playing in Baton Rouge. 2 more non-conference games. It should be 50-point exercises with Louisiana and the Citadel before the Auburn game. And still some tough opponents, but on the road, really only that game at LSU.
It'll be double-digit favorites, you would think, in all of their road games except LSU. And I don't even know who knows. A lot of football to be played between now and then. Tylen Knight, the running back. Little guy, 5'6", 171-pounder, out of Pearl, Mississippi.
Led his high school team to the 6A state championship a year ago. They were 16-0.
Who read the media guide too? That wasn't the only one.
I like the little tidbits on guys. You know, I like the little extra things. It's interesting.
Well, we haven't really talked about Ta'amu's backstory. He's the starting quarterback here. We mentioned earlier, no D1 offers out of high school. Wanted to play at the University of Hawaii. Grew up admiring Colt Brennan, who starred on some very good Hawaii teams, but they offered him a preferred walk-on as a defensive back. He didn't want to do that, and he didn't want his parents to have to pay for him to go to college. They're his folks, Billy and Louisa. So he took a full scholarship offer at New Mexico Military Institute. A lot of guys don't know who played last week. He said one of the reasons I went there, that's where Roger Staubach went.
Yeah, we didn't know that at all.
Did not know that. I assume it's true. I mean, I did not fact check that, but that was Jordan's school, and he seems like a very honest and smart guy. So we're going with it. But he wasn't even the starter his first year there. He had a magnificent second season. and then started to get some interest and came here to Ole Miss. So I wasn't sure because they had Shea Patterson here, but I just believed it was part of God's plan. And we talked earlier about he's a man of very deep faith, as is his good pal Tua Tagovailoa.
Right.
And it has worked out for him. Took over as the starter, helped rescue their season last year to get to 500. And prior to tonight, had played very well this season. And hey, there's no disgrace in struggling against Alabama.
You know, one of the things that Phil Longo, the offensive coordinator, has done everywhere he's been, and it paid off last year, is he's always repped his number 1 and number 2 offense, and particularly the quarterbacks, the same number of plays. And so when Shea Patterson was hurt last year, Jordan Ta'amu had gotten a lot of reps and was ready to step in and play, and they actually were more efficient offensively down the stretch with Jordan Ta'amu at quarterback than they were with Shea Patterson. And so then he kind of picked up right where he left off last year in the first couple ball games. But as you mentioned, this is a little different animal going against Alabama.
Phil Longo said, I want to get the number 2's experience so they're ready. As you said, he also said, I don't want to wear out the number 1s over the course of the year. You feel like after a while you almost practice your starters into the ground. Want to keep them fresher.
Especially if you play up-tempo like they like to play. When they've got it rolling, they're playing extremely fast.
Tylen Knight, short gain there. Let's take a look at our unexpected outcome, brought to you by ExxonMobil. And here's what it is. NWO MIA.
Yeah. Well, they had 6 catches combined last year, and they had 1 better than that this year. So 2 years in a row, this outstanding NFL caliber receiving group virtually non-existent against the Alabama defense.
Mac Brown on to punt again. You know, you like the nice stories. Mac Brown, a good guy for several years. Put up a lemonade stand every summer in Eden Prairie, Minnesota. He's raised more than $50,000 over the years for ALS.
Next stop, Alabama on the SEC Network.
This was while we were away. This is just wrong. He oh God, I'm sorry. This happened several times too. Why don't you put that box up to your mouth and just start chugging the popcorn? I think that's the end of someone else reaching into the popcorn box, is it not?
It's true love there.
That's got to be true love. There were 2 people. There was another woman to the right of our screen we did not see, who was also diving in on the on the
box.
She's
that's right.
Yeah, you want some too? Here.
Let me slobber on it a little bit more.
No thanks. Yeah, hey, it's great. A little moisture that I'd like, but yeah, that is true love. We'll monitor the behavior of the other 10 people who are still here as well. Mac Jones handed it off to Jerome Ford, and he got driven back. College football primetime, presented by Hampton by Hilton. We hope they're still with us next week after this. You can't unsee this. It's amazing how much popcorn is in that box. It must be a trick box or something, because he continues to just chug it. Ronnie Clark is the running back now. I don't know how many people dressed tonight for Alabama, but I think they've all played. 3-hour trip. Did you find it odd that they flew from Tuscaloosa to Memphis?
It's kind of a tweener. It's a hard one to figure. They're busing back. They flew to Memphis, stayed in Olive Branch,
which is about an hour drive from here.
Drove here to the game, and then they're busing back to Tuscaloosa. It's a lot easier when they go to Starkville, because that's only about 82 miles away from Tuscaloosa, and they bus all the time. But it's kind of an in-between deal. I don't know. Not sure which I would prefer.
If they keep winning 62-7, you're going to keep taking the plane.
Why change it?
Take the jet. Here's Skylar DeLong. Shockingly, another very highly recruited punter who wound up at Alabama. U.S. Army All-American. in high school last year. Elijah Moore, a fair catch. And here's a look at tonight's PlayStation Player Index. The performance of Tua Tagovailoa. You know, he's putting up these numbers in fractions of games.
Yeah.
You know, because they're killing everybody. They're getting Hurts and Jones into every game. And 191 yards, 2 more touchdowns on 15 passes. That actually made his touchdown to pass attempt ratio worse tonight for the season.
You know, it's obviously he's talented, but his efficiency is remarkable. I mean, there's just very few wasted plays. I mean, every decision is a good decision.
Todd, apparently we have other people who are still watching this, because we understand the popcorn people, their phone has started ringing. And I think they're saying, what are you doing eating the popcorn from Chug guy over there, who continues to, I mean, is that the same box of popcorn? I'm starting to think there's nothing in that.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That's funny stuff. Funny stuff.
Yep.
We didn't get butter on the popcorn, but I'll put a little slobber on there for you and we'll be good.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's probably saying we should have done this while the game was still on ESPN. Not that we don't love being on ESPN News, which is an outstanding network in and of itself. Tylen Knight, the ball carrier. We're down to 1:10 to go. And I think they're timing it out, so that popcorn's going to get them all the way to the finish line here tonight. 3rd down and 4, under a minute to go. Armani Linton into the game for Ole Miss. He is a backup running back.
Big kid, too. Good-looking athlete.
You got a nugget out of the media guy for him you want to dump on us?
Well, he was started out as a defensive back, moved to running back in the spring.
You need to prepare harder for these games. The rest of us were doing Namaste this morning at the local yoga. What do we call it? Yoga center, I guess. It's not a store. The light in me bows to the light in Nick Saban and all of the Crimson Tide. And the Popcorn Man and his loyal disciples. As we say Namaste, final 10 seconds. Alabama 76 straight wins against unranked opponents. They haven't lost one since 2007 when Auburn beat them as an unranked opponent. Final score 62-7. 516 yards of offense for Alabama as the Tide called off the Dogs in the second half. This has been a presentation of college football on ESPN and ESPN News. For Holly Rowe, Todd Blackledge, and our great crew led by Phil Dean and Scott Johnson. Good night from Ole Miss.
Some of the things you were trying to get your team to do